What's going on, guys? I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. If you're a returning subscriber, as always, guys, welcome back, and I do appreciate the support. All right, guys, I've been following the story about Sade Robinson out there in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Shout out. And you guys have been with me, know who she is. You also know that the guy that's been arrested is 33-year-old Maxwell Anderson, charged with dismembering this woman, taking her life and dismembering this woman after their first date. And that was a couple of weeks ago. I just seen the story that was interesting. As volunteers still look for parts of her body that are missing, have yet to be recovered. And police still go with this ongoing investigation. Even though this guy is locked up, a lot of questions need to be answered. In my opinion, you got the chief person to answer them questions in custody, draw the answers out of them by any means necessary. But the justice system don't work like that. And speaking of justice system, I seen a video, a news article that I want to share with you guys, and not just you guys in Wisconsin, people across the nation. I want you to pay attention to this story. There's a state representative out there, a representative out there in Wisconsin that's trying to start a task force. She's a lawmaker, guys, a politician trying to start a task force for missing Black women. Now, I want you to look at this, and then I'm going to come back and talk about it and give my honest assessment of why this thing isn't coming to fruition, hasn't come to fruition, and will not come to fruition. Take a look at this story, and I'm going to come back and do what I do.
Addressing the disparities, the Wisconsin representative is shedding a light on the state's high rate of missing and killed Black women and girls.
Fox 6's Durante Matthews joins us live with her mission to create a state task force. Durante?
And Ted, Mary, Democratic representative, that is, Sheila Stubbs, says she's been fighting for this task force for at least the past 2 years now. And the recent death of 19-year-old Sade Robinson is only adding fuel to her fire.
My heart hurts for her family.
Representative Sheila Stubbs is brought to tears when thinking of the death of 19-year-old Sade Robinson.
We have to do something now.
Milwaukee police say Robinson was killed and dismembered earlier this month after a first date with 33-year-old Maxwell Anderson, who's now charged with her homicide. But violence against African-American women is an ongoing issue in the state that Stubbs says needs to be addressed now.
How many more Black women or girls have to be sacrificed in this state before we do something?
Data from the CDC says in 2020, Wisconsin had the highest homicide rate for Black women in the country. That rate doubled from 2019 to 2020.
There's a resource issue, and we need to handle it.
These numbers and issues prompted Stubbs to propose a bill 2 years ago that would create a task force for missing and killed Black women. The proposal failed, so Stubbs reintroduced it this session, fueled by the case of missing Racine woman Lashiki Hill. But Republican Senator Dewey Strobel never scheduled it for a public hearing in his Government Operations Committee. He sent us this statement saying, in part, "While I believe the authors of this bill are well-intentioned, I personally have reservations about creating a state government task force that focuses on only one facet of a much broader societal problem." Strobel ultimately released a proposal, which ended up getting bipartisan support in another committee, but it never made it to the full Senate floor. Stubbs says the fight is far from over.
I said, what do we want?
I am not, and you can take this one to the bank, going to stop until something is done across the street for Black women and girls.
And Stubbs says she's reached out to the governor. She also plans to meet with the attorney general to find some sort of way to make this task force happen. Live in Milwaukee, Durante Matthews, Fox 6 News.
All right, guys, you've seen the story. And before I really go into this, and I want you guys to pay attention to what I tell you, I'm going to show you a little bit of I saw this on another article, and it has some more information about the case. And a couple of things I didn't know. Now, I've been keeping up with the case. I didn't know that it was her car that got set on fire. Well, of course, it was her car that got set on fire because they searched his car. And that this guy, when he was dropping off one of the body parts or getting rid of the vehicle, he smashed through a gate in a gated part part of a park or a golf course. I think it was a golf course where he went back there and did what he did. Take a look at this real quick.
Zoe Chapala joins us now. After hearing from the county sheriff and the police chief, there is so much information and detail in the criminal complaint, yet still this gap towards the end, Zoe. What still don't we know?
Yeah, and I think that that's just the best way to describe it. You know, I was looking at the criminal complaint and I'm like, wow, this is really detailed. They really have all of this information laid out here for us. And then when I got to page 9, because it was about a 10-page criminal complaint, I realized that there are still a lot more questions than answers at this point. I mean, some of the big things that I think we're still wanting to know is a motive. That is something that we asked the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office, and that's not something that they can answer at this time. Another thing, too, is we know that Sade Robinson and Maxwell Anderson met because they went on their very first date that last Monday night. We don't know how they met. Investigators say that they think that they met at Maxwell's place of work. However, that's not totally confirmed because police are still investigating that. We also know, too, that investigators think that the two met at Anderson's place of work. Again, they say Sade and Maxwell went to the Twisted Fisherman last Monday on their first date, and then to Duke's on the Water, and then back to Anderson's house. They think that Anderson drove to Warnemont Park around 3 in the morning, where that severed leg was eventually found. Surveillance video shows the car head toward the pump house and a shadowy figure on the beach, and phone records also show Sade's phone at Warnemont Park from about 3 to 4:30 that following morning. Now, we do have confirmation that the severed leg belongs to Sade Robinson, but what we don't know is if these other remains for sure belong to her. Investigators think that, yes, those human remains and the other body parts that were found do belong to her, but like I said, it's still pending those identification from other different testing resource centers around the county. And then also as well, another big question that we're hoping to learn is, when did this happen? How did this happen? And why? I mean, I think a big thing, a big gap in the investigation that we're not finding out is, did this happen in the home when they went back to Anderson's house? Did it happen in the car before he set it on fire? Did it happen at the beach where the leg was found? Those are all questions that we asked the sheriff's office and that they still can't answer at this time because it's a very open investigation and still very fluid. But they do hope to get us that information as soon as they get that information. So we'll keep you updated on that. But for now, in Wauwatosa, Zoe Chapala, Fox 6 News.
All right, guys, that's the story. And you've seen the lawmaker, the lady, I forgot her name, I'm sorry. It really bothered her. You see, she was driven to tears and she was talking about it, but she can only work through the extensions of the tools that are available to her. There's still people over her that has to make these decisions. Now, at first glance, a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, they just don't care about black women. It's not that. And I'm being honest. I'm here to tell you it's not that. If you really look at the way a lot of these things happen in the justice system and a lot of the way these laws are made, and this is a big problem, and why they need a total overhaul in the way they make laws in this country, they look at it as it's not a pressing enough need. And the way we're doing things is how we've always done them, and we'll continue to do them until we're forced to change it. Not just out there in Wisconsin, but in other places. The lady said she was going to use the Sade Robinson case, and they said there was another missing woman out there whose name I forgot. Forgive me. She was going to use this to support her statement of what needs to be done. I had no idea that Wisconsin was wild like this. I didn't. I mean, not the whole state, but like, I didn't know Milwaukee was rough. Yo, it said that they had the highest amount of crimes against black women in 2020? They said it doubled in 2021. Jeez. Think about that. I'm like, man, and it's like, you know, certain states, like I noticed certain areas across the country, from me just covering stories, seem like it's a pattern. And, you know, just forgive me, this is just my assessment from what I've seen. it seems like Miami-Dade has a lot of people that are like sexual predators, like on women and stuff like that, and just a lot of stuff with schools and students being targeted for sexual contact. It seemed like Atlanta got a lot of youth that like get in trouble a lot, like shootings and stuff like that. Memphis too. It seemed like if you want to get chopped up or brutalized real bad, New York is your spot. Shout out NY. You know what I'm saying? And it just seems like a bunch of craziness in like different parts of the country. Certain crimes are on the rise. Now, is everybody bad in these places? No, but crime is something that is rising everywhere, not just Wisconsin. The guy that's over in charge of the thing where they said he didn't even bring it up and all this other stuff. He said, and then this is the part that sounded messed up. This is why I wanted to do this video. The guy said, we have more pressing needs. It's not saying that the needs of, Black women getting victimized is not enough. But the thing is this. I did stories on Shanquilla Robinson. Remember her? What you call it? Carly Russell faked the abduction. People look for her. And Alicia Watts, pictured up here. They looked, FBI and all these other people got involved in different cases. You know what I'm saying? There's a blueprint set up with the way they do things, and it don't matter if you black or white. And they're going to run it as such, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Or if it's broke, act like it's fixed. We're in charge, not the common folk. Now, reason why I brought these people up. All them black women, correct? They're not going to make a specialized task force for a specific race. They're not. They're not. When the crimes may not happen as much, in different races or en masse as different races, but it still happens. So there's no need to change anything. No, urgency. Another thing is this, and I want you guys to listen. I'm gonna be dead honest with you. When the guy said he had more pressing needs, the reason why they're not going to say that is a problem that is an extension of the real problem. And nobody white is going to attack that. Has to be somebody that's what? Been in the battlefield. Somebody that's black. That's just me. Because it's an issue, a lot of the stuff that's happening with this situation where black women are getting torn up, you have to what? Come at black men. Because most of the crimes against black women are black men. Let's keep it real. That's why this story with Sade Robinson and how heinous and wild it was is striking everybody. Because it was a date, a white male and a black female. She's looking for love, meeting a guy. The first date turns deadly. She gets dismembered. Boom, headlines all over the place. Would you agree or disagree? That's why a lot of y'all are watching this video right now. You cannot address black issues and put a Band-Aid on it. And that's what she's doing, even though she thinks she's doing it right, is a Band-Aid for a bigger problem. So you can't put a Band-Aid on this stuff. That's the thing. All this stuff, gun violence, violent youth, and all, it's a Band-Aid they want to put on it. And what I say in my videos, we got to rip the bandage off and don't look for just fixing it. We got to look for the cure. And it's a lot of parts that go into that, pieces that go in that puzzle that need to be removed for something good to come out of it. We got to stop letting our kids be raised by rappers. We got to start really understanding what it is to be a parent. We got to put our children first. We got to stop giving dudes with violent passes and chasing thug dudes and stuff like that. Now, this doesn't apply in this case, but we and especially women have to know, and this is women of all races nowadays, that you have to be smart and you can't let your emotions trick you into believing you know, a lot of what somebody says. You can't follow your heart. Your mind has to play a role in that too. And I'm not saying women are stupid, but I mean, a lot of women overlook obvious signs and flags that are presented to them because they give people the benefit of the doubt. And it costs them their lives. It don't matter what color you are. It's true. And same with men. In the next 10 years, violence from women against men, you'll see it will increase. Nowadays, women starting to talk and act like dudes. They are. The way when they get angry, they sound like dudes. That's why you think domestic violence is rising at an all-time high. Because there's somebody out there, something that's pushing this narrative of gender equality, and women are jumping in men's faces and acting like God didn't make men and women different with differences that, you know, each make them come together equal, a whole. Two halves of a greater good. And we're using it in the wrong way. We are. It's unfortunate this happened to this young lady. Because from what I've heard and from what I've seen, she looked like just everyday run-of-the-mill citizen. And to have this happen to her, she just walked into the wrong person. It's unfortunate. Parts of her body are still missing, guys, and they still got answers that they need. You know, they still got questions that they need answers to. If you want to attack something with a law, attack the interrogation laws, change them. Because he's the one that did it, and he's the one that knows where she's at. And he's sitting up there right now, probably eating a ramen noodle soup and watching the news and relishing in the fact that he feel like he got over, regardless of who he hurt and how he hurt them. So who's more insane, the one that did the crime or those that are protecting him? You ever think about that? How many nights of decent sleep you think the mother and the relatives had? How many of them people that are victims as well, her family members who mourn and drop tears over what happened to Sharday Robinson, how many of them are smiling right now? How many of them close their eyes and can't stop thinking about her last moments or what she went through enduring that type of punishment? What about the parents of this dude, Maxwell Anderson, that now their name is synonymous with the killer? What do you think they thinking about? We didn't raise this. People know us and they know him. And every time they see us, they see what he did to somebody else. We have to start attacking problems at the root, no matter what color they are. Crime is crime. See, we constantly treat something after it shows its head. We never go into trying to prevent it. I'm just saying, what she's saying, this lady's saying, is a noble thing, and I'm sure she thinks this is the right thing. But the way the laws are written and the way they run this country, it's not going to happen. If they said, hey, we want to do something for Chinese folk, it'd be the same thing. Nah, it's not big enough. It is. These people are in power for a reason, and they'll do whatever they have to do to stay in power. They're not going to put a certain race, a task force for a certain race, when the same thing happens in other races, though not as much. They're not. And I'm just telling you, it's the game that's being played. And to attack that, what's happening to black women, you need to attack what's happening to all women. And they're not ready to do that. I'm just saying. I'm Stock Market Steve for the Dynamic Reason channel. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Justice for Sharday Robinson.